that. Hey everyone, thank you for joining me for our lunch and learn today. My name's Andrea Stett, and I am your friend and sideline and upline and everything in between. I'm an Emerald ambassador at this point, and so I don't know about y'all, but we're all wanting to rank up, so we're not going to be here for long. That's all I'm going to say. On that note, I am in Kristen Boss's social selling academy. And one of the big things she really hits on is just organic marketing. Serving over being salesy, but not being afraid to use the word sell, because we do sell. But she says, organic marketing is having the long game in mind. And I really love that. It's not posting out of desperation. It's not messaging out of desperation. She wants us to look at it like, thinking compounded results with much consistency in these areas that we're going to talk about today. So for those of y'all that are new, like I've been doing this for a little over 5 years, and I exhausted my warm market and definitely within my first year, probably in 6 months, honestly. And so I've had to learn how to cultivate a cold market for a long time, is like the way I feel. I've done Twitter, I've done LinkedIn, I've done Instagram some and all that. And one of the things I can definitely tell you is a lot has changed in the way that we are posturing ourselves on social media. And my advice is to just keep going with it. We have to go with the flow with this. We can never think, well, that's not the way we did it last year. I know, because it's constantly changing. And we have to realize that we're speaking to an audience that is changing and evolving as we continue to use social selling as our industry, right? So social selling is it's just the way it is. So I'm super thankful for all of these trainers that are on the cusp of what's most effective, basically. Okay, so all that to say, that's what this is about today. So I'm just going to kind of, honestly, I'm taking a lot of this from Kristen Boss's training, just so you know, but then I thought I'm not going to be able to possibly cover it all. And so I thought I'll just kind of highlight it. And then I'd love to open up to question and answer, because I really more want to have this like a conversational training. Basically she says, this is less of a formula and more of a feeling. It's more of a nuance. I like to use that word a lot, because a lot of this stuff is a nuance, meaning you have to, yes, there's a system to it, but then you also have to understand the nuances of different settings and different people and all those things. So one of the things she talks about is, first, you need to position yourself as the expert. And she doesn't mean that you are an expert, but you position yourself as an expert on some topic. And honestly, you guys, like, I want you to just, if you don't even know what that is for you, like, don't think too hard about it. It's just going to be something that you're passionate about, that you've already maybe learned about in the past, and you can share it with people, or maybe something you're learning about currently. I'll give you one example. I have a friend that's extremely good at organization. Like, she just knows how to organize her house and organize her finances and organize her car. And she's in a social marketing job, not even ours, but we were talking, and I was like, you should be adding value with your organization. And she was like, well, that's not really that big of a deal. I just do stuff. And I'm like, well, not everybody's organized. And it's not as logical to everybody. And she had never even thought about that would be an area that she's an expert. So like, I want you to think about you, and it doesn't even have to be complicated. Some of y'all are real pet lovers, and you know so much about pets and pet training and pet food, all those things. That would be a way that you could be an expert and attract people to that. Anyway, so just know that, like, they want to know, love, and trust you. That's the key, is you're engaging with your audience in a way that's going to cause them to want to come to you. And that would be another thing, is like, when I say be an expert, you need to also be vulnerable and be like a relatable person. That's what people want most. Like, if I was just following someone that was super perfect in everything that they did all the time, I'm just telling you about myself. I'm less attracted to them. I would want to go for the person that did the makeup tutorial and messed up and acted like a normal person, and her kids were in the background or something. I follow this one gal. Her name is Andrea something, and she's called Deliciously Fit and Healthy. She does workouts with her kids around. And she is so relatable because she does her workouts with her kids around, and she's in really great shape. But she'll do like these little not spoof, but she'll do these little reality pictures where her fat shows and this and that and the other, or her kids are interrupting her and she has to tell them to go away. But she still does a great job at what she does though too. So and then she'll also here and there sprinkle in personal life stuff, not like a ton because it's mainly a fitness channel, if you will. But she'll still sprinkle in some real life, like when they go to church or something like that. And I like that because that makes me feel like she's just like me. And that makes me want to buy from her, to be honest. Because remember, people aren't buying a product, they're buying you. So they're not buying Plexus, they're buying you. Okay, so, and then that brings me to, you need to know your target audience. You need to figure out, who am I actually speaking to? And one of the things I've heard several times is don't try to speak to everybody, because if you try to speak to everybody, you'll basically speak to nobody. So when we say find your ideal client or find your ideal avatar, that is what you need to do if you're not sure who your target audience is. And that would be like, I'll just give you an example for me. I've had to think about this. So like my target audience tends to be women over 45, women with a lot of kids, women with boys who are into health and fitness, but they also may homeschool. That's kind of like my target audience. But I've had to hone it down tighter for my avatar. My avatar would be like, who do I basically want to speak to when I write my copy on my post, like I speak to their pain point, I need to know who that lady is. So like they've told us, I mean, I've listened to enough, like what's her name? Jasmine Star and even Kristen Boss, they'll say, give her a name, like name her, Leslie, and she's 48 and her kids are in college, and her husband like to work on their marriage, and like they like to go on dates and they like to go on trips. So she's, maybe they have a modest income, they've lived life, so they're like in their late 40s, so they have a lot of connections. But she's feeling some of the aches and pains of being over 45. She's got some hormonal issues. Her husband, he's 50, so he is into health and fitness. Like these are people that are also into taking care of their physical bodies. So I'm trying to speak to that lady because that would be the lady I want to be a business builder on my team. So that's just me. And I've picked her because I have certain criteria I would like for a business builder on my team. And so that's why I have all those details written out. Does that mean that's the only person I'll attract? Well, no, of course not. But that's my ideal avatar, and that's who I'm going to post to whenever I post my copy. And copy is just the words that you choose when you're writing your content on your post. And that's that. And I'm going to do another training on that because that's a whole separate training. But that's basically where you are speaking to their pain point. You're offering them a solution. And I think this is where, it comes into play where we want to engage our audience. Okay, this is the next thing where Kristen talks about. So you find your target audience on Facebook and Instagram, right? But do you want to be engaging with them? So some of the things that you can do to engage with them is when you write your post and you write your copy, you want it to be speaking to them to get engagement. And so it can't always be about you. And this is tricky, okay? Because it's like, it is going to be about you because you want to talk about something about you that they'll relate to. But I want you to always look at your posts and like go down your posts and like, are they always about me and like what I'm doing and like me? And like, I've had to do that. Like, I've had to like figure out a way to turn my words around just to tweak it just a notch to where I'm asking them about them. And that honestly, I think comes with practice and seeing other people post that way, and always just tweak the words a little bit. Like, is it just like, I just wanted to find myself and I just wanted to get in shape and I just wanted, well, but say something like, I don't know about you, but once I hit 45, I just started feeling like really run down all the time. And like, I just couldn't get out of that pit, like, have you ever felt that way? Like things like that is what I'm trying to say. And maybe even like think about it in a way, like if I sat in a room with Pat and I just sat there and just told Pat, and I mean, I'm guilty of this. So Pat could be like, I know. Just, you get adult conversation, right? And you're just like, blah, 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 blah. Okay. But that's not, you don't want to monopolize the conversation. You want it to be about Pat too. I don't want it to be about, well, everything I've been doing. I want to know like what Pat's been doing. So like, even in a way, put your mind like, how can I speak to Leslie right now? When I'm posting. Okay. And that's another thing. Like, this is where like Instagram, you could look up hashtags possibly, to find certain people, but Facebook's a little different. But like you would look on Instagram and search your people and you would go to their posts and you would engage on their post and give valuable feedback, like it didn't have to be a paragraph, but just like something that more than like lovely or awesome, you know what I'm saying? Engage with them, get on their stories and comment on their stories, things like that. And just see where that takes you. But the thing with all these kinds of things is you have to have some kind of a system to where you can keep track. So let's just say on Instagram, I have my hot 20 list of people that I'm trying to engage with. I need to have that somewhere where I know either I'm have them. There is on Instagram, there's a spot where you can hit like follow people, like meaning you can see their stuff first. I don't remember what it's called. If anybody does, feel free to say what it is, but there is a spot to do that. Okay. So you could make it so you see all 20 of those people's stuff first. You could do that. And that's because that's something I've done before. Or you can just write their names down and just have their names down, something like that. Obviously on Facebook, on your hot 20, you can create a list of your hot 20 to cultivate. And it's a special Facebook list, or you can do see first on their profile. Go to their profile and click see first. It's like under friendship or something like that. I can't remember right now, but it's pretty easy to find. And then that way, those people's that hot 20, their posts always show up first on your newsfeed. So, you got to be strategic about that. Because this is something that Kristen is really big on is, you can post all day long, you can post your stories all day long, but if you're not engaging with people, then it's not going to do you a lot of good, honestly. I mean, I'm not saying it will never get you anybody, but if you realize like social media is designed for us to be social with other people. And so the algorithm recognizes that we're socializing basically. And when they see that we're socializing, then they show more of our content to people. So, let's see. Kristen gave this really good example and it really kind of hit home with me. She doesn't ever say, don't message people. Okay. Just so you know, like, even though she talks about organic marketing and really great copy on your content that attracts people and all that, she doesn't say don't ever message people. Okay. But she does have a thing about, don't just message somebody that you friended in a Facebook group, or maybe you're friends of friends or something like that, but you have no history of a relationship with. She's even funny about, don't even just message them and be like, hey, how are you doing? Even if you're not saying plexus, she's like, it's still weird. And it kind of is, y'all. Like if I all of a sudden have somebody friend me and then they do one of two things. Sometimes they don't ever say a word to me ever. They don't ever like any of my posts, and all of a sudden they message me about their product. Okay, there's that. But then there's those that try, but they'll just send me a thing out of the blue like, hey, how have you been doing? been wondering about you or something. I'm like, no, you don't even know me. So like, don't do that. Because I know you're trying to strike up a conversation, but it's still inauthentic, you know? I always try to relate how I talk to people on Facebook, on social media, like I would if I was at the grocery store. Like I try to like kind of like pivot it a little bit and think, how would I naturally strike up a conversation at a grocery store? You know, which I'm not saying I do. I've gotten to be, I don't know about y'all, but I'm definitely one of those people that I'm in and out, right? So it's definitely an area of growth for most of us, but you wouldn't just stand behind someone in line at the grocery store and say, hey, how are your kids? Where'd y'all go on vacation this summer? I mean, you wouldn't do that. So this is where she says, you got to know your people you're wanting to cultivate with. So that means you've got to get on their page. You've got to strike up a conversation by showing genuine interest, get on their stories and participate in their polls and, or whatever, you know, whatever it is. Let's see. Okay, so next she says, also, as far as just okay, sorry. So it's positioning yourself, know your target audience, number 2. Number 3, build relationships, period. Oh, another thing she gave us an example, and it really made me think about you. She said, like, even like doing like random challenges and offering it on your Facebook and getting people to engage on those, like that's a way to build relationships. So recently, some of y'all have done it with me. We just decided to do a 30-day hard, like not 75 hard, 30-day hard. And she gives this example is why I'm telling you this. She said I would get in a Facebook group of like-minded people. She said I was in a group. She gave the example. It was like a mom group. Okay, guys, it wasn't anything specific. And she really felt like she did a good job of adding value in the group overall. And then one day she was like, based on a discussion they were having in the group, she's like, who would like to just do like an accountability group with me on like her eating or something? And she was like, a bunch of people joined her and they did like a group, like a separate group. And she's like, honestly, I wasn't even that great in the group because like my kids got sick and I got sick and I dropped the ball. But the funny thing was, I had some people that I just really clicked with in that group. They friended me and then now they're working with me. So I think it says ask to unmute. Hold on. Why does it say that? Kaylee, do you want to be unmuted? I don't know. Something just popped up. Okay, sorry. Okay, I thought it said somebody was asking me to unmute them, but I don't know. Okay, so it made me think about our 30-day hard. That's what we did, guys. So it's just putting yourself out there. It's not even like I'm saying, hey guys, I'm an expert on 30-day hard. I was just like, I want to do 30-day hard. Who wants to do it with me? And then some of y'all jumped in with me and they're like, can I invite people? I'm like, absolutely. This is like the easiest thing for us to do. It's like, we're doing this, we're doing it. We're holding other people accountable that want to do it with us. And then we're engaging. So that's just one example she gave of like collaborating and connecting with other people and adding value outside of your opportunity and your products. Okay. So after building relationships, she talks about selling. With organic marketing, you still are going to be selling. And she said a lot of this revolves around like, what is your mindset about selling? Like you've got to change your stinking thinking about selling. Okay. There's nothing wrong with it. We all buy stuff. Okay. We all know this. She just said, make sure that you're selling with value. This is where she says, make sure that they're walking away from an interaction with you or from one of your posts where they feel like they felt seen, where they felt understood, where they felt served, and there was a need that was met. I just love that so much. So if we just make sure that anything that we do when we're selling is about helping people feel seen and met and understood and served, we can't go wrong. And the beauty of it is you're going to come across not desperate when you do it that way. And when you're not desperate, people feed off that energy, if you will. They feed off of an abundance mindset of, I have something fantastic that I have to offer you. But if it's not the right time for you, that's okay. I'm in no rush. You know what I'm saying? They feed off of just your posture. Okay. Let's see. And I mean, I will tell you, I can't tell you how many I've had on my team that have talked to me and they say, I just don't want to be salesy. I just don't want to do this. I just don't want to do that. And I'm like, first of all, everything you're saying is about you. Like you're being self-focused, number one. Stop and just realize like you have something to offer that will help them. Just shift your mindset just a little and you're going to quit thinking about yourself and you're going to come across in a genuine way as long as you're not thinking about yourself. So, okay, next yeah, Pat, you're saying you have a prayer challenge. That's a wonderful idea. Like it doesn't have to be anything. It's going to be something. And my advice is it needs to be something already in your wheelhouse, already something that you love to do and you want to do with other people. Okay. So after selling, she talks about objections with organic marketing. She's like, basically expect objections. They're no surprise. They're very normal. It's not a personal rejection. And once again, it's not about you. It's never about you. So, and then that's the way you'd handle objections. You know, you definitely use the feel, felt, found method as you're talking with them, but you can't take it personally. And then definitely don't have expectations that, of them in any way. It just needs to be like a natural thing, you know, and move forward. And lastly, one of the things on objections that she talks about that really kind of hit home with me is she says that you need to have a vision for all women, obviously men too, okay, but just for what we're talking about, our target audience is probably women. She said, rather than talking about this, I'm just telling y'all, this kind of hit me. I was like, I never thought of this. Rather than talking about how you earn 6 figures a year, talk about just how $200 a month can be life-changing. She's like, what you're doing when you talk about 6 figures a year is you're ostracizing a whole group of people that think there's no way they could ever do that. Or you're also, in a way, maybe ostracizing wasn't the word she used, but isolating or something where you think, oh, well, $200 a month is nothing. So why would I even talk about that? Like there are people that live so paycheck to paycheck that need this, that like $200 a month would be life-changing or 500 would be life-changing. So like you need to talk about that way more than you do about the big income. And it just, I don't know, that really hit me because I always think I should talk about the big money because I want people to know, like, you could literally like get a whole new career here, or you could completely like stay home and work from home. And I don't know that she's saying never do that. I just think she's saying you need to make sure you're casting the vision for your everyday person that's running across your post, And then lastly, she talks about having the right. Yeah, go ahead. It's relatable. Is that what you said, Pat? Oh, somebody was talking. Okay, it's okay. Pat said, yes, $200 is relatable. And I do think.
Andrea.
Yes.
Patricia said $200 is relatable.
Yes. Patricia said that. Oh, no, that's not Pat. That's Patricia. Sorry.
That's all right. I'm in hiding.
You're in hiding. Okay, you're right. Because Pat says Patsy. Hey, Patricia.
Hi.
That's a good point. It's very relatable. And we always need to be relatable. Like that's so key when we're talking about engaging and connecting and all that. Like being relatable is going to be way more attractive to people. I mean, I got to be honest, like when I see some of these like influencers on Instagram and, like everything is like so perfect all the time. And like their house looks perfect and it's like humongous. And y'all know what I'm talking about. I just think, I mean, how do they even live like that? Like, it just seems like they live in an alternate reality. Like they live like they're movie stars or something, And I'm not saying like you can't have something nice in your background. I mean, obviously I like my house to be clean in my background versus laundry everywhere and Cheerios all over the table, right? I mean, like we all do it. I mean, I wear makeup because I want to look better. I mean, it's okay, but I do think there's something to this that we cannot underestimate. So, okay. And then lastly, she talks about having the right mindset with organic marketing. She's like, have realistic expectations. Okay, guys, this is not going to be your instant microwave. I'm going to message someone and they're going to say, yes, let me jump on board. I mean, and like how many of us have actually had that happen? And most of the time when you have someone that's that quick to jump the gun anyway, they're going to be that quick to jump off the gun, jump off the ship. So let's just be realistic. She says, you're going to have what she calls this phases of your audience. And I thought this was really good. Like first you're going to have like, they're the casual observer. They're just going to watch you, watch your posts. Like, this is the way I look at it. Like I just went to co-op yesterday for my first time. I met a new lady. She friended me on Facebook. And so like, I know right now she's going to be a casual observer. So there's that. It's totally normal. Then she's going to become curious. She may like one of my stories, or she may not like one of my stories, but she may start being curious, literally. And then she may become engaged. She's an engaged follower now. She's actually like looking for my post. Every day she comments, something like that. And then you may have an interested consumer after that. So they start asking you questions. And then obviously they're now a happy customer. And then they may be a fangirl for life is her next phase, which I thought was kind of funny. But anyway, the point is like just understanding that the phases of the relationship of an organic marketing strategy is normal. And sometimes people will not move through the phases, unfortunately, and that's okay. And don't get discouraged because it's not personal. It's just part of life. Just like you don't always click with everybody you meet. You're not going to click with everybody you meet on social media, and that's okay. So let me see if there's anything else. Oh, one of the things I did want to share before we go on to questions is, and it's already 12:29. Dang it. Okay. Well, since I started really quick, one of the things I did find interesting, and I don't know, since I started really implementing, because I joined her academy and I started implementing more of what she says to do. And in the month of, so it's August, whatever, I've had 4 strangers reach out to me on Facebook. 4. And 2 asked me about my opportunity. I don't even know how they found me. They just said, I saw your post. Can you tell me about your opportunity? One wants to leave her pharmacy career and be home more with her kids. I still don't know how she found me. She, once I told her I did she didn't even know I did Plexus. She just knew, like, she'd been following me and knew I made income working from home and wanted to know what I do. And so when I shared that I did Plexus, she said, I have known people that have done Plexus that have not done very well. So I'm a little hesitant. So I have a warm lead and I'm still in conversation with her, but she reached out to me. Is my public profile public? No, my profile's not totally public, but I pick and choose what posts I do want to be public. I do. And then I had another gal comment on a public post of mine and asked me about my opportunity. And then one more thing I wanted to share is, and I shared this with one of my groups. So we talk about with organic marketing, living out loud and like being active in different ways. And so one of the things I've been very active on is things going on in the world. And y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to say it on here because it's being recorded. But I got on a controversial post and I liked someone's comment, and that lady saw that I liked it and she went to my page and then she messaged me and said, I saw you liked my comment, thank you, but I saw your page. Do you have something for chronic constipation? Okay. Anyway, so we're in the course of talking through that. Okay. So she's like an older lady, she's like in her 70s and she is about to have surgery. So I think she's hesitant. But the point is, she saw me living out loud in another area, and she messaged me. And because my posts were public about constipation, I'm just saying, like, we need to think strategically when we're on social media. so that if someone comes across our page, it's not just, cat videos and all that kind of stuff, right? That's what I'm getting at. Okay, so I'm gonna just, if you have to jump off, I understand, but I would love to hear from some of y'all if you have any questions or thoughts.
I have a question.
Yes.
You just mentioned a few minutes ago, feel, felt, found, and I wonder if Desiree and Kaylee may not be quite as familiar with that because it hasn't been talked about a little bit much lately.
Yeah.
Would you mind to just share a little bit more about that?
No, not at all. That's a really good question. Okay, so whenever we have an objection, whether it's to the product, the price, the opportunity, I can't be a salesperson, blah, 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 right? So if someone said, I could never sell anything, I would say something like, I really understand how you feel because that is how I felt when I first considered getting my products covered. I'd never sold anything in my life. The thought of it terrified me. But what I found was the products really do work, obviously, right? And it's so natural to want to share that I just posted about it. Like I do anything else that works for me. Like, do you share stuff on Facebook that works for you? Like, like if something helps you, if you like your makeup, do you share if there's a discount at the local, whatever, grocery store or whatever? Well, I kind of found that it was similar to that. It's just sharing naturally. And most people, most women have struggles with X, Y, and Z, and they just came out of the woodwork and started sharing with me that they needed help too. So I found that it was way easier than I ever would have thought because a lot of people need what we have. So that was a little long version, sorry, but that's feel, felt, found. You feel what they're saying and you relate. You felt a similar feeling and you kind of explain it a little bit. And then you found why it actually isn't that bad, whatever that is. So that's feel, felt, found, because people, like if you give an objection, think about anytime you give an objection, just always try to flip the situation. Like if it were me on the other side, if I were to tell a doctor, I'm just going to give you an example. I'm really nervous about my child having surgery. If he was just like, oh, you'll be fine. It's great. It's awesome. You'll just be so glad you did. I would way rather him say, I understand, I'm a parent myself. I've had a couple of kids have surgeries and I know how scary of a feeling it can be, but we have all these steps in place. He'll be under good hands, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? So it really is like, even when I sit here and say it, like we all understand needing to hear that from the opposite side. So that was a good question. Anybody else? I don't really want to talk anymore, but some of y'all may be here in this place where you're like, I have to get a new warm market. And warm market means, for Desiree and Kaylee, if you don't know, you may already know this. So your warm market is anybody you already knew before Plexus and that you knew fairly well, don't have to be best friends, but you knew them, know them well enough to reach out to them about Plexus, basically. Whereas when you've exhausted all that, you basically are making new friends. Always we call it filling your funnel. You always want to be filling your funnel all the time. A good goal is 3 new friends a day if you can. But that means like 3 to 6 months down the road, those cold market people will hopefully be your warm market people because you've worked on cultivating your relationship. Not all, and it won't all stick. That's normal, but some degree it will. So, all right. Does anybody have any other thoughts? No? Okay. What about you, Sherry? You're not saying anything. Are you busy? Are you with Dayton today? She may be. Oh, she's here. Yeah, it really helps when you're just not sure where to begin a conversation. Yeah. There was something else I was going to share. So, and another thing, like, who on here is actually trying to grow Instagram? Well, Yeah, Pat.
Kind of, I am, but it's just consistency.
Yes.
Here and there I do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I
consistent.
am also Andrea.
You're good, Patricia. Yeah, that you are definitely. So I think you're slow. And some of it is that whole like you're gonna do more cold, that's more your cold market people. So that's gonna look a little bit different. And so I would just say try to be consistent, whatever you're doing. And try to get an audience of people that are like-minded, that are maybe your target audience. But share your life. It needs to be about your life in a way that is engaging, where you can add value. And I'm gonna use an example of like Pat. Sorry, Pat, I'm gonna use you again. But Pat's mothered 13 children and has adults and all that. Like, she has skills she could be using as her way to add value on social media. I mean, on Instagram. That's not, it needs to not be Plexus. Plexus just needs to be sprinkled in there. So one of the people that I'm following right now that I've gotten to know a little bit more on a personal level is Rachel Rogers. And so I would go to her if you want to get an example of what I'm talking about, go to her Instagram, because what she's doing is she's created a whole following of people where she's talking to them about gentle parenting. I'm sure there's a better word for it, but gentle parenting, to the point where she's like created a community, and she calls it cycle breakers. And like women are like, I'm a cycle breaker, meaning like I broke the cycle of being an angry parent, basically, that lashed out on my kids. And so not only has she created content that's adding value, but she's also created a community. And so then she sprinkles in Plexus here and there. So just go look at it. So her Instagram isn't all about Plexus for sure. It's about something totally different. So I just think it's a really good example of what we're talking about. So yeah, she created a subculture. Yes. Sherry says, I'm not as creative as many of them. You know what? And so one of the things like I want to say to that is like, don't, and I know you're not doing this, but don't compare yourself to other people, because like your audience is going to look different than her audience anyway, but there is an audience waiting for you to share something that you've learned. And I know we've talked about it, like you and your husband have like a lot of like marriage time you've invested in people with marriage counseling or just encouragement. Like, don't underestimate something like that. Being married, after so many years, and you're an empty nester, like that's a group of people you want to pour into. So just wanted to say, anyway. And I know like I've been on Instagram, like single moms raising children alone, widowed moms, like if you have the energy to like connect with other women, like it's almost like you have to take off that pressure of like, I've got to perform and be like an expert in, I don't know, single mommyhood. Okay. Whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, just look at it like, I just want to connect to other women that are in my same place. So I'm talking, like Marley, like, have you ever thought of doing that? Has that been?
So yes, but to your point, my approach tends to be more, what am I going to put out there? And you know what I mean? Because that's what we're doing, is we're putting, and I like to connect with people who connect with me, but I haven't been so proactive about like looking for hashtags for common people that I could go search out instead of them finding me.
Yeah. So this is just another like level that you could work on with your consistency. And that would be your IPA, guys. Like when we talk about IPA, so like this is IPA, especially if you're in your cold market, if you're in the phase of needing to branch out your cold market. Thanks, Pat. I know
I'm finding that people, I get more interaction from strangers than I do people that I know. Because I have two Instagrams. I have a personal one and I have a public one, and I get more off of the public than I do people that I know. It's
Then
like, they don't want to hear what I have, my
roll
people.
with it. Then roll with it. Roll with that. But serve them in a way that, figure out how you're going to, and serving doesn't mean big production. It just means, how can I connect with them and encourage them? So that's exciting though, Marley, if you ask me.
Yeah, it is. It feels better. But I just lost it. I don't know what I was gonna say.
Well, I mean, I'll
But it
say,
helps.
well, I mean, you've probably found a little bit of a gold mine there. You may not even realize it if you've got that many people commenting on your post.
Well, it's not that many, but
Well, I know what you mean.
indicators. Yeah,
It's
indicators.
getting your attention, like, hey, just like
Yeah.
when we say, even Kristen was saying Facebook groups are gold. And one of the arguments one of the gals had, and I understand this, is, you can't get on those groups and sell anything from an MLM, right? Y'all know this. But her point was, don't get on there to sell. Don't just get on there to connect and making connections with women and other people that you're like-minded with. Just do that and add value that way. And all that means is post stuff, comment, offer help, offer solutions. That's what that means. And you will get people interested in messaging you. That it will happen, because it's happened to me. So I know it happens. You just have to be careful that you're not talking about your products on there very much. It needs to be like, I think she gave an example, like, something that really helped me was I made sure I got these certain enzymes with my probiotic and it worked wonders, blah, blah, blah. Well, then that's all she said, but then that got people messaging her and asking her, you know what I mean? And that's the truth. So anyway, that's just a small example. Okay, ladies. Well, thank you for giving me your time and let me go over, but I always enjoy getting to connect, and y'all have a blessed rest of your day. It's good to see your faces. All right. Bye.